any small city like Jackson and others, you have to have a strong business class. Seventh and pay off
Testing 1, 2. local authorities. Okay, something happening there. Okay. You got it together? I don't know what that is. I'm here. All right. Is that on my end? I don't believe so. Okay. Are we back? We good? Yeah. Okay. And so what we're dealing with right now, although the feds say they don't have jurisdiction, they said this the same thing before in 2004, 2000, when the investigation was going on. Although they don't have jurisdiction, it still lies in the hand of the state and local authorities. And so DA Dwayne Richardson is the one that has the case currently, and he is the one that has to make the decision on what would happen, what should happen.
So how do you feel about that?
You're putting me on a hot seat here.
I don't see a lot of. I did meet some of the Emmett family last night, but I don't see a lot of public outpouring over this struggle that you're having here.
Yeah.
And we all know that the assassination murder of Emmett Till really set the civil rights movement afoot and gave it the kind of traction and national exposure that allowed a lot of things to change.
Yes, sir.
And so it would seem to me that we would have more involved in marches and articles and editorials and a lot more going on during this struggle. So what is it that gives us the lack of the enthusiasm and the outpouring that is required to make the DA in Sunflower County do the right thing?
I'm glad you made that statement, and it's been an ongoing frustration for myself, and I know for the family as well. Like I said, this has been my 28-year effort. I worked with Mother Mobley for 9 years until she unfortunately passed away. She was my inspiration. She is the one who instilled in me the values of speaking for those who can no longer speak for themselves. And also, she instilled in me this mission to make sure that justice is done in her son's murder case. And so, in 2004, we had a lot of traction. We had city councils around the country passing resolution in support of my efforts into getting the Till case reopened. I had a lot of power people on board, like Senator Schumer, Congressman Rangel. Delta Sigma Theta sorority was involved with this journey as well. My mother is a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. They wrote a resolution that represented over 800,000 members, and they sent that directly to Attorney General Ashcroft. One of the things he talked about when they reopened the case at that time was that letter he got from the Deltas. So we had somewhat of a movement, grassroots movement going on at that time. We don't have it right now. And I think a lot has to do with the fact that the case reopened in 2017 or was reactivated in 2017. But we're in 2020 now, and nobody has heard anything. We haven't gotten any updates on the investigation. We lost another family member, Mr. Simeon Wright, a few years ago. And, he was the next of kin that was dealing with the case. We have Reverend Willow Parker, who is still with us. He was also dealing with the case as well. But I don't know. I mean, I've never witnessed this non-communication with a local authority in this way before. I mean, by now, surely, being that the case was reactivated, I should say, in 2017, February 2017, I would say we would have heard something by now. But as you said, no one is going to actually move on a case like this unless we demand it. And so we need everyone to collectively get involved, not just the family, because yes, the family needs closure, family needs justice, but we're also the people, generations down the line need the same thing. We need the same justice and closure as well, because Emmett Till affected all of us. And so I just hope that after this, discussion that we're having tonight, that people will be empowered to come forward and participate in this new movement to finally get justice for Till, because there's only one person that's left, and that's Carolyn Bryant Dunham. And I don't think it's fair that this woman is still walking around like there's nothing and she hasn't even been brought to justice. I even have to utter a word to the things that she participated in 1955. And so I'm doing everything that I can on this end to keep Emmett's name out there in the forefront, and also the mission that the family is pushing for.
Well, I appreciate your effort. And I appreciate you continuing to fight and to.
What happened to Emmett Till trumps what happened in Philadelphia.
Yes.
And so there was nothing ever done so brutal to an individual, a human being, as it was done to Emmett Till.
And when his mother opened that casket for the world should be demanding justice. And the world should be demanding that this case be reopened on a federal level, and that we bring all resources to bear to bring closure to this family and to bring some closure to the state of Mississippi. The state of Mississippi is on trial. The state of Mississippi is the entity that should be trying to clear the record, make atonement for the errors and the sins and the atrocities that was created during time. And so, I appreciate you continuing with this struggle, because it is worthy of it. Emmett should go down in history as one of the individuals that played a tremendous role in the freedom and the rights and the privileges that blacks enjoy today. It was his sacrifice that sparked that movement. And as a 9-year-old boy at the time when he was killed, it was traumatic. Most African Americans
needed psychiatric counseling, because not only were you afraid, it set us back for hundreds of years. Because how can you have self-esteem when you look at something that happened to a young boy, 14 years old, that could not have said or done anything to justify what happened to him? And so, I hope you make a film, create the movie. I hope it's shown all over the world. I hope that the state of Mississippi will come and aid you in your struggles to bring justice to this family and closure. It's tremendously important, and it's never going away. It's one of these things that will never go away. You have to deal with it. You have to, just like slavery will never go away. There has to be some atonement for it. Some closure has to be brought to this. Start by acknowledging crime
that existed, and somebody needs to apologize for that. And somebody needs to say, we want to make amends to that. We want to do something for this family in a significant way. And we want Mississippi to stand up and say that we're sorry that this happened to a child. We're sorry that this happened. We will never let this happen again.
The Jews say that, we'll never forget. You forget, what happened and how it happened. It'll happen again. And so stay vigilant. How are you coming with the film?
How is that looking?
Well, the film is coming along well. I did the documentary in 2004, The Untold Story of Emmett Till. that prompted the Justice Department to reopen the case. And now we're doing the feature film. I'm producing it with Whoopi Goldberg, Fred Zolo, Barbara Broccoli, as well as Tom Levine and Michael Raleigh. We also have a great director we just announced for the anniversary. Her name is Chinoya Chiku, who's known for her film Clemency. And so we're very excited about where we are. Right now, we're shooting next year. We're shooting in Mississippi. We're going to sure the film is done in the community to help the community. And so we're on that path. First and foremost, for any film, I'm about justice. I want to see justice done in this case. And in 2004, I thought we had it. I really felt that we had enough evidence to indict Carolyn Bryant during that time. We still have that same evidence before us. And I'm going to tell you, it's overwhelming evidence, despite what anyone or critic would say to you. There's only a few of us is privy to this information, and I'm one of those people because that information is things that I discovered. But the frustration is that we keep putting our hope in the system on a local level, even though there's people who look like us. Doesn't necessarily mean they're for us. And I'm not saying that about who's there now, Dwayne Richardson, D.A. Richardson. I don't know him. But I know that the DA failed us before. And so now I'm just hoping that the right thing is done. I'm hoping this woman is alive so we can at least hear her story, for what happened. But we have to, no matter how old she is, I have to say this because you mentioned, our brothers and sisters of the Jewish faith. Over the years, I've watched Nazi war criminals at the age of 9 being rolled out their homes in wheelchairs towards justice, or to stand before justice. Everyone is trying to make Carolyn Bryant Dunham out to be the victim. This woman was a victim. She's a 21-year-old murderer at that time. And so the question is, do we have a system, a judicial system, criminal justice system that we could trust enough that they would do the right thing? Because, like I said, there's no conspiracy to the murder of Emmett Till. Maybe there's a conspiracy to hide it. But in terms of the evidence, we have the evidence. But it's up to the DA to make sure justice is done. I don't know if that's going to be possible. I don't even know if a grand jury in the state of Mississippi, and I shouldn't just say the state of Mississippi, in the United States, that is ready to indict a white woman, an 80-year-old white woman, for the kidnapping and murder of Emmett Till.
Well, I don't see why not. I mean, we indicted an 80-year-old Bill Carthan, put him in jail.
Certainly.
What didn't seem to be any barrier, any thing given to him because he was 80 years old. I think he's still in prison allegedly for some sexual activities which are nowhere near the category of violence, hatred that we're talking about with Emmett Till.
Absolutely.
So, I don't see that doesn't hold water for me. I mean, if you have evidence and that this young lady was involved in the murder, and we all know that she was the essence of the crime because she was the one that said that he whistled at her or whatever. I may have some of the facts wrong about that, but clearly she has to be brought to justice in regards to that. So age doesn't have a thing to do with it. I mean, the state needs closure. I mean, you can't keep coming down here every year and the family, bless their hearts, I don't know where they travel from. But everybody keeps coming back trying to figure this out, trying to figure out what is it that we can do. Mississippi has the highest number of elected officials in the legislature. And I would like to think that somebody is introducing bills every year, every quarter, in the legislature. It says that we gotta do this. We gotta bring closure for this. We gotta figure this out, because this is not gonna go away. Family's not gonna let it go away. You're not gonna let it go away. And when you bring it up to me, it just hits me all, inside to think about what happened to him. And so, that kind of thing festers and just makes it impossible for you to move forward.
Yes.
As a nation, as a state, as a united people, until we go back and deal with some of these things. So our ministers and our elected officials and our business leaders need to be marching right along with this family. And they need to be marched until we get something done. If somebody says, let's do it. We've had an African-American president. Come on now. It's time for our
people to stand up and speak about what's wrong.
We got
an African-American vice president candidate that was an attorney general that knows that cases can be reopened and that injustices can be brought back up. And so that should be part of the political campaign. You come around here and you chasing and soliciting African-American support, and you say you're committed to it. Well, you start by fixing some of those things that are wrong. You start by going back and look at the horrendous crimes that was committed, and you bring closure to that. That's the way you demonstrate that you believe, that you have passion and compassion for the family that has suffered so much and paid so dearly, and have not received anything. And there's nothing you can give to bring him back, but there ought to be, this family ought to be put in a position where some remuneration for the things that they have to do and the expenses they have to go, the attorneys and lawyers, they don't have the money for that. And so this state really needs to step up.
I'm glad to know that you're on the scene and know that there are some of us out here that support what you're doing. And if anything we can do like this show to help get the word out, help talk about it again. I had the opportunity to speak at the Emmett 3 or 4 years ago. And it just brings up ugly memories. We gotta have some closure.
We got some closure.
Well, Mr. Garrett, I want to bring in Mr. Marquise Hunt. He is an ambassador of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, and he participated along with Keith in a panel discussion for Emmett Till. And one of the key points, what was the name of the FBI agent that has been working on this case again, Keith?
Dale Killinger.
So Marquise, talk about some of the comments that he made, because one of the things that he said, the reason why they haven't charged Carolyn Bryant is because she was old and she had kids. This came out of the federal FBI agent.
Well, no. I want to correct you on that.
Okay.
When that was mentioned, Jay, it was a paraphrase. It was paraphrased from a comment from A.C. Strider, who was involved with the case in 1955. Sheriff A.C. Strider was the so-called racist sheriff. They had a warrant out for Carolyn Bryant's arrest, but she was never served that warrant. I came across a document that talked about, it was an interview, I guess, with A.C. Strider, and he was asked why that warrant was never served to her. And he turns around and he says, well, I didn't want to give her the warrant because she had children to take care of. And so that's where that comment came from. But Brother Marquise, it's great to see you. I don't want to take over your time. Please share.
I appreciate you for not wanting to take over. Neither here nor there. I think that we can recognize that the Justice Department, whether that be the United States, I'm off mute, so I don't know why you can't hear me.
He said he's off mute, look like.
Can you guys hear me?
Can you hear us, Marquise?
I can hear you guys, yes.
Yeah, while Dr. J is trying to deal with these technical issues to bring Brother Marquise on to the show, we just got to stay strong. Got to stay vigilant. We got to do the right thing. We got brilliant new leaders in Mississippi. They were strong enough and wise enough to move the flag.
It takes that type of courageous leadership to say, it's just wrong. And what was wrong has to be corrected. And so it can be a new day in Mississippi. And we can be a state that is a unified state. We have the largest number of African Americans of any state in the United States, right here in Mississippi. Mississippi has more families that have interracial children in them from slavery than any other state. We've washed clothes, taken care of white folks,
nourished their children, fed them, worked hard. Not asking too much to bring closure to an atrocity of this nature.
It's something that every decent person should be able to come to that conclusion and be eager to do something to bring closure to this. So, Marquise, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but it's just that we got to keep fighting, man. We got to keep fighting with our folks. You indicated that there are folks that look like us that might not be with us. And, that's something we got to overcome. That there is nobody my age does not feel the same way that I do about what happened in Emmett Till. There's nobody that's over 60 years old that doesn't feel the same way that
I do about Emmett Till. So, if the anger has gone away, it's gone away because we have not taught our young folk about what happened.
And we don't continue
to remind them
about what happened and the price that was paid for the freedom that they have. And so we have done a poor job of that. And it's showing up in so many different ways for you to make a statement like, they look like us, but they may not be with us. We can't make statements like that anymore because we can't allow that to be there. When it comes to certain issues, we can be in different parties, and we can have different philosophies and different religions, go to different churches and go to different schools, but when it comes to a brutal massacre of a young black man in Mississippi because he whistled at a white woman, we got to be unified on that.
I mean, if we're not unified on that, we have lost everything that holds us together as a people. And when you lose that, you're going to
be divided and conquered and destroyed. And so, guys, just keep the fight up, keep the struggle up, push harder, make more noise, do all that you can to make this right.
All right, we got Brother Marquise. Marquise, introduce yourself to everyone and tell them your involvement with the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation.
So my name is Marquise. I am an ambassador for the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, student at Cleveland College, and
with every single election that we have the opportunity to cast the vote, we need to make sure that we are at the polls standing in the line, whether it's long or short. I think that it's important for us to know that a lot of times we're quick to blame and just being very transparent, 45 for some of the things that are happening, but we've been dealing with the immaturity for over 65 years, and there have been a number of presidents who have sat in office and have yet to really push to make sure that there were people who were held accountable and really pushing our Justice Department to take these cases seriously, not only the one of Emmett, but we call it names of Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. The list goes on and on and on. And so, one of the things that I asked the agent was, we often refer to the civil rights division of the Justice Department. Families of many folks cry out to the Justice Department to bring justice. And, I said that I don't think that letting this case go back 55 years and not holding anyone accountable, let alone the only living person whose testimony was a testimony of falseness, of lies that were being told, and which ultimately led to the demise of Emmett Till. And, think about it, we often kind of say it so easily, when you look at a white woman, and then when you think about it, who cares? No one should have been killed for whistling a noise that often sounds like music. We know that we hear people whistle all the time, whether that be in blues and in different forms and genres of music. And yet, for this 14-year-old boy, his life was lost because of that other false allegations. And so I think that when we think about what our Justice Department looks like, I think the Justice Department needs to reevaluate what they consider justice, because to let this case go back 65 years and no one be held accountable, like I said on Friday, I wouldn't consider that justice at all.
Wow. So you're being young, what motivates you to want to be a part of the Legacy Foundation?
Well, in high school, I learned about Emmett Till, heard the story, and when I got to Mississippi, of course, having been able to meet you and other relatives of Emmett Till and really be able to hear firsthand some of the things that really happened, if you will. And so I think that it was important for me to, in any way that I could, be engaged. And then Deborah Watts, who is the co-founder of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, reached out to me asking that I, support them in their efforts. And of course, it didn't take much or anything. I don't think I even let a second go by before I even said, yes to my involvement, because I think that it's important to make sure that we are continuing to be engaged in this, and that we're educating folks all across the country. I remember I posted a brief video of the Tallahatchie River where Emmett Till's body was ultimately recovered. And the conversation that I saw was that a lot of folks still hadn't heard about Emmett Till in high school, still didn't know the real facts, still didn't understand what happened, or let alone, like I said, who Emmett Till was. And so, we would do ourselves a disservice without continuing in our daily conversations or in conversations in different spaces to mention the name of Emmett Till and its relevancy to today, and the issues that we often face, whether that be police brutality or other systematic forms of racism and oppression that we often see in our country.
And so either one of you all can talk about the young man. How does the Emmett Till case relate to the young man, Jacob? What was Jacob's last name that got shot in Kenosha?
Jacob Blake.
Jacob Blake, 7 times in the back. And we've been hearing stories about, like you said, Sandra Bland, Michael Brown, Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. How do these cases relate to Emmett Till?
Well, I'll go first, but I think, the clearest distinction is that in all of these cases, white people have not been held accountable for their acts. It's pretty simple, clear as day. And one of the things that I think is also important to note is that the police force in America is the direct legacy of slave patrol, slave catchers, those who in Mississippi work diligently and effortlessly to make sure that they can catch slaves who were yet the Justice Department at the end of the day, to determine what justice looks like, we often see a number of folks, and especially our police officers, who commit these heinous crimes against Black and brown folks to often go free. But yet, to the contrary, Black folks who find themselves in danger in their own homes, who decide to use their stand their ground laws, often find themselves in prison. And just like the comment that was made by the sheriff about, not wanting to serve Carolyn Bryant Donham a warrant for her arrest, especially, serving it because she had children. There's a mother in Texas who decided to change her address because she wanted her children to have a better education, yet she was in federal prison because of that. So we've got to understand that there is two Americas that we live in, and apparently there's two forms of justice that we're looking at, and I just want to know which one it is that Black and brown folks are going to receive, because since I've been alive at 22, I've only seen a partial justice, and that was the case of William Chapman in Portsmouth, Virginia, and the officer that shot and killed him in the head and in the chest in the Walmart parking lot only served 2 years, and for killing somebody, no longer having life. So, yeah.
Well, for me, clearly, it's disturbing to continue to see the carnage on the streets that we're seeing when young Black and brown people are being shot for nothing, shot and killed, and so on. But nothing speaks more to this generation at this moment in time than the story of Emmett Lewis Till. Everything that you're seeing today is those social ills that we're continuing to fight are the same social ills of yesterday. Things may have cosmetically changed, but they remain the same. So when you hear about the shootings and of the policemen, shooting Black bodies, the reason why we hear Emmett Till's name so much, because, and I said this a number of times, because I like to put Emmett Till's story, Emmett Till himself, in its proper, his story in the proper context of history. To Black Americans, Emmett Till is Anne Frank. You hear me? To Black Americans, Emmett Till is Anne Frank. And so when we hear these murders taking place on the street, his name always metaphorically comes back to fruition. And that's because on one end of that comment, Emmett serves as a reminder of grave injustice. And on the other side, of course, he serves for, hope and change. Out of Emmett Till's murder, we saw change. And of course, what we're seeing today with all these shootings, continuing to pile up, we're hoping to see change today. And so, again, that's why you hear Emmett's name so often. One, because we never got justice for him, but he still serves as a reminder of what could actually happen when we don't have racism in check. And so I'm just hoping with all this that has occurred recently, and I know a lot of us are suffering from racial fatigue. I can tell you, I've been feeling it a lot. But we have to continue to fight. Each generation has an obligation to pick up that mantle and to fight this all the social ills that we're seeing. And so I'm hoping that the same movement that we saw in the 50s and 60s, we can recreate that now. And I think we're on our way of doing that. But I think we need to be more diligent. We need to be more organized. And we need some leaders of the day to come forward, because we cannot play follow the leader now. All of us must become freedom conductors ourselves.
So you guys, final words, action steps that you want people that are listening to take. How can they get involved in the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation and, like I said, sign a petition? Tell us what you want us to do.
Well, just that. I mean, please log on, Google Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. We have a petition that has been, actually rolled out. We're asking everyone to sign this petition to get justice for Emmett Till, to go after the remaining suspect in the case, Carolyn Bryant Dunham. I would like for people to reach out to the DA and the state attorney general of Mississippi to ask for that justice be done. And so I just want us to all be vigilant about this and progress, proactive in pushing this movement forward, because it's not over. And it's not fair that we have someone who's been evading justice for so long, and we know where she's at. It's not like she's in hiding. I want to see justice done for the family, and that's my mission.
I think for me, one of the things that's important is to make sure that we are not only registered to vote, but that we actually go to the polls and vote. As I mentioned early on when I first got on, so many of us are looking at the presidential election, but as a number of folks, even in Mississippi, would say that all politics are local. And I think that when we recognize our role in this movement, and one of the things that I've mentioned before is that everybody's not going to be wanting to take to the streets. They're not going to go out and protest and march. But one of the things that we could do, at least, is to make sure that we show up to the polls and vote in every election, not just the presidential election. And when people say that my vote doesn't matter or voting isn't important, I think that the easiest response for you to have is to say, well, there was a 14-year-old boy who was traveling to Mississippi to visit family and friends, and in the midst of that trip, he was killed, and 65 years later, he has yet to see justice. And that shows us that we have a whole lot of work to do. And as he said, all of us need to get together, organize, mobilize, and galvanize the streets just as it did 65 years ago. That really sparks the civil rights movement that we are currently in. A movement is something that doesn't stop; it's ever continuing. And so we've just got to recognize and understand our place. And I think the first stop on this train to justice is to make sure that we have our folks registered and our folks vote. You have any final words for these gentlemen? Well, I just thank you guys for what you're doing. Thank you for the time and the commitment and the effort that you put into this. And I just want Mississippi and I want America to know that they have a debt thing, and we can fix things if we want to.
We could easily have a space center, a Air Force base, something named after Emmett Till in that area to benefit black folks and bring jobs and economy back in there to show some dedication. We can have this picture on currency, so that this doesn't ever go away, because it's not being taught in history. Nobody will know what happened here unless you guys bring it forward. And so it's critically important, and those folk in power, Joe Biden and Kamala, those folks that hopefully will become leaders in a few months, will take a look at
doing something to bring closure and justice to this hate crime. You guys stay strong. Well, thank you so much. We definitely gonna have to have you guys back, because this conversation is very important.
And we talk about the economic impact. And sometimes we have to dive into that, because when we went on a tour, the Emmett Till Trail of Terror, the Delta, and we went by every stop that they traveled to when they was beaten and tortured Emmett Till. And just on the way through this journey, I was just thinking, what would Emmett Till thinking laying in the back of that truck that late at night, that early in the morning, and it was a long, about 30 minutes in between each
ride. And so we definitely want to have you all back to talk about that. I found out that the Money, Mississippi is owned by one family, and they want $4 million for a Bryant grocery. I don't know anything in the Delta that's worth $4 million. So thank you all again for joining us, and we will definitely have you all back.
Thank you.
Just like to say to our listening audience, this program is sponsored by SGE COVID.
In the number of cases of COVID-19, the number of deaths are up. Call us. We have the capacity to test your facilities, test your buildings, and give you the results of those tests in 90 minutes to know whether or not that deadly virus is in that facility or not. So reach out to us, Black folk and white folks, support businesses that are trying to make a difference in our community. Dr. J, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you all for listening to BMA Radio Show Sundays at 7 o'clock. Make sure you tune in next week, same time, same space. Can't wait to hear you next week.